L. Sam Letsky says, best HGC moment for me would have to be GFE reverse sweep of Tempo Storm. Michael Yudo Genji in Game 3 on Towers of Doom was insane. That was such a good series, such a good game. I'm so sad that I was sick that series and couldn't cast it, but you guys did an awesome job. Thank you again to Calidor for filling in. What's this one, Dread?
Caliber Brew, we got top moment for 2017 HGC has got to be the tie between Roll20 Esports 22-0 and Fnatic taking the mid-season brawl. I agree with you. Fnatic taking the mid-season brawl for me has got to be one of the biggest highlights out of all of 2017.
Yeah.
Not only the first World Championship being able to be claimed by the European region, but more importantly, like the epic, dramatic story and constant, you know, kind of back and forth between Dignitas and between Fnatic over that past year, and kind of it was, I mean, legitimately could not have been more perfect,
no,
right?
I feel like you couldn't have scripted a better story.
No, it was a beautiful moment. Almost so much so that it just doesn't feel real, right? Like it was so good that it was just kind of like that couldn't have been a thing.
Right. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was such a the series was great. Both of the series between
the
those two
Brightwing,
teams
dude,
was
I
awesome.
still to this day am torn on the Brightwing. I cry inside every time, but they did it. They proved me wrong.
Only Smexy.
Only Smacks.
Maybe Akaface too. All right, we've got game 2 between Lag Force and Even in Death coming at you very soon. Lag Force will be taking us to Infernal Shrines. Even in Death chose first pick. Kind of goes back to the wanting to make sure. We've seen Even in Death be willing to pick Battlegrounds before, and there is a favored Battleground for them that would still be up a couple. But in this case, just going off at first pick so that they don't give any preference. They don't show any preference.
Yeah, it makes, again, all makes sense. We're just ready to get into the draft. Is there anything cool that we can see?
Kerrigan!
Other than the Kerrigan, can we get, is there a wild strategy on a map like this? Split pushing can be a little bit more valuable, maybe
Sylvanas?
a wild Sylv, yeah. Zagara could be one to break out. I wouldn't have even thought of that if it wasn't for the sweet TV behind you that has Zagara hovering as I stare at you. But Zach could be another thing. B-Kid in front, it's Chromie now, so.
Oh.
It's always high clip. But that could be the direction. Other than that, I don't have anything crazy. Melee-centric compositions thrive better if you play into the play style here, so might see a little bit heavier melees, but that's about as far as I go with that one.
Like, or
I mean,
throws again?
Kind of like just like Arthas plus insert 2 other really deadly, you know, melee assassin style play.
Yeah, Kerrigan.
Kerrigan.
I would love to see Kerrigan.
There
was a Kerrigan earlier today.
We could get Kel'Thuzad as well. We might get the Zod, right? He got banned by Lag Force, so I don't know. It's a little bit weak with that one too because no team has shown how much they feel about him so much so. Granted, in the interview, it was more of like, you know, teams feel like he isn't that powerful, so maybe that is it as well. But it does make sense that if you are a team playing in playoffs, there is no reason to pick Kel'Thuzad whatsoever because all you do, unless you have no intent to play it, right? But then by playing it, you're essentially saying, I don't have the intention to, and I just feel like that might be why we see the lack of. We
could see another Medivh here. Wouldn't mind seeing a Medivh Diablo.
Some Medivh Dibbles is always an entertaining show. You get the Leyline. Leyline and APOC, we haven't come up with anything ever creative for that one, have we? We never got like an amazing, it's not the easy bake oven, you know, we don't have the washing machine, so I feel like that's got to be something we ask of our fans here today.
Yeah, let us know what your favorite moment from HGC 2017 is, or let us know what it would be Leyline CO into APOC combo. That's honestly, that has been one of my favorites, favorite moments, kind of continuing throughout 2017 has been getting to interact with you guys watching at home and hear what you think about the combos.
Because you're a lot more clever than both of us.
That is very true. That's exactly why.
Yeah. And we sit up here and we're like, oh, wouldn't this be so neat? Wouldn't this be so neat? And then sometimes it's even gotten to the point where me and Gilly will be like, oh, we found it. This is the one. And then it takes one tweet from you guys and it's just like, and we're bad at our job. Dunzo. ETC is still staying at the top of the meta here for Even in Death. Double support stands out on this map more than some of the others because of the long fight and how easy it is to be able to get split push. So Lag Force ventured into that last game. We might see them do that again here. It's
so surprising how fast North America has, first of all, gotten on board double support.
Yeah.
And the Morales Vala, that specific pairing. It's not so much Vala and Ariel, although generally if you see the Ariel and you know people are going into double support, it's a pretty quick, that's okay, we'll just not give you the Ariel. But to follow that up with Morales and say, fine, we'll just stim drone her. And it's not even that it's so much stim drone too. No Medivac dropship. It's been interesting to me. There it is, Vala Uther.
with the indication of probably a Morales later on, just like you said. Those two do make sense together, the Uther plus whatever, because unlike every other support in the game, Uther does something slightly different. He doesn't heal with his heroic. He gives you the shielding immunity, right? And that allows, like, we talk about the burst healing, right? Why is Uther better than Rhaegar in the double support situation is because his shielding onto a Morales, if you get the heal onto a Morales as she's dying, she's probably still going to die because she's out of position. But if she has 5 seconds to really just be un-CC'd, be able to walk out and get into a prime position, we saw in the last game.
Yes.
If you just get 1D shield, she repositions and she's like, all right, I've got the beam back, boys. Who's ready to be healed to full? And so it does make sense as to why Uther is at the key of that double support, and then why Morales needs Uther.
Yeah, and maybe why you aren't needing the medevac dropship, because you're reliant on the secondary support to keep her alive, and then she can give the stim drone for ultimate carnage.
Is that what we're going with, Ultimate
Yes.
Carnage? I do wonder if there will hit a point where North America maybe pulls a bit from the stim drone, though. I have been very surprised at how heavy the stim drone has been there. Though I do agree, I understand the thought process behind it, right? You have the secondary support, so you should be able to make up for it. But when you're win condition in team fights, like we were talking about yesterday with the Anubarak Falstad scenario against Roll20, when your win condition relies on the one support enabling the other support to do its job, it can be played around, right? You always need 2 different ways to approach that team fight, and I feel like medevac might be necessary, but also I might be undervaluing the rate at which stim drone really complements the Vala, and that damage output essentially is the only reason the strategy is viable.
Yeah.
And the rate at which we see stim drone selected, it tells me that the pros genuinely believe that it is not worth it without that. Otherwise, the medevac would be at least 25% pick rate.
But what do you think about stim drone Cho'Gall? Because we had a Cho'Gall ban.
Stim drone Cho'Gall doesn't stand out to me as too insane. I mean, it would be scary because his auto attack damage is relatively high for being a melee, but not so much for being a melee of 2 people, though.
That is lag force. I wonder if it's just like, we
Throwaway
don't
ban.
want to deal with anything like this, just in case. They're maybe not going toward this. Kind of like when we heard from when Justin played, Roll20 played versus Even in Death,
Yeah.
and they had that Tychus pick, and they're like, we just in case, didn't want to have to deal with a Cho'Gall.
Yeah, and I oftentimes used to talk about when I would play that, the Zeratul would be that kind of go-to ban consistently because he's the hero that can like kind of just win up on his own. And Zuno oftentimes was the guy who's just like, we don't want to do it. We're better than them. Just don't deal with the Zeratul. We can get past this, right? And he was correct. Like, that is a pretty healthy mentality, and I do agree with you. That's probably what we see with that. It's just like, it's not worth our time. Just I don't even want to play against it. It's going to be way too annoying. Take it away. So, do we see Even in Death? We had the Orcs last time, but it seems a bit more meta with this one.
It does.
Seems interesting that game 1 you open with the Orc theme, but then not in 2. I hope this is a curveball. I'm hoping we see a curveball.
Yeah.
A good old, we've gone over this, right? What is it? Can you tell me the numbers? What type of curveball? No?
Wait, what? Oh, 6 and 12?
12-6.
12-6.
There you go. We're learning.
We're just doing things with our hands now. Leo. This seems pretty standard.
Tyrael. Not so standard-ish.
But double support. Maybe the Lily is more like, because you already see a double support setup. You have Arthas for damage. Some sort of melee assassin here.
Oh, yeah.
So blinds.
It doesn't matter what character that is. It's not a mage. It just isn't going to be a mage. And because of that, then you go for the Lily. You already limit the Vala, so you know you're going to limit the secondary. But there is an outlier there, and it is Malthael. He is the beautiful hybrid of the 2 there. Lily's done pretty well into Malthael so far, I believe.
Yeah, she will still blind his auto attacks.
Yeah, and it's going to limit the ability to spread that out, making him even more heroic dependent. Lieutenant Morales and Lily, I don't feel like they're going to struggle too hard either. I mean, other than if somebody can manage to get the kill target, whoever the healing beam on is with the healing debuff of Malthael.
Yes.
But I just feel like her healing output and armor that she distributes is usually enough to be able to deal with that unless the pressure runs on Morales herself or the Lily. And let's be real here, you got happy feet. You shouldn't be in a bad spot.
We've mostly seen Jug of 1,000 Cups. But I'm wondering, the one time we saw, I think, Lily into Malthael, the only time we saw that, it was still Water Dragon because of how much Jug of 1,000 Cups can be limited by the healing debuff, especially if you're wanting to use that as a counter for Tormented Souls.
Yeah, and I think another thing that when we see Lilies and we talk about the Water Dragon element, we're really missing the major power spike that kind of, or argument behind the Water Dragon, and that's in fact, because she's one of the only characters in the game that when you get a heroic and then you get the upgrade, you get double, right? So you have one dragon. But imagine if you could have 2 dragons, okay? And
100% better.
Exactly. She has doubled the dragons, Gilly. Like, why even, you could have
What's
1,000
funny is
cups,
that's the
or you
name-
could have 2 dragons.
No, it'd be 1,000,000 cups. That's the upgrade.
Oh, you're
It's
right. It
a
is.
1,000,000 cups. That's
She just is getting more of her heroics.
Math-wise, that's more. But we're ready. We'll see which heroic it's going to be. Game 2 with Lag Force with a 1-0 up.
Against Even and Death.
Yep.
She nailed it.
There you go. I was confused for a second by something. Anyway, we're in. We've got it figured out. How playing Lily? Battery playing Morales.
Battery was on the secondary support in the last game as well. So interesting to be able to see that. That's one of those cases of players that, I feel like I've seen on a roll for so very long that every time I see them on kind of an off roll, I'm just like, this can't be real, right? Even iDream on Uther is still a bit of a struggle for my brain.
No, last game wasn't a double support. It was a single support. And Battery was
Battery
on it.
was on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was also the orc composition, so
Bros.
I'm not giving it enough credit there.
Yeah. Just kidding. We're going back into the game. Hey!
It's just that kind of day, boys. We're going to march out here up into the mid. Who wins the 1v1 early on? Definitely going to give that to Lag Force, unless it's a sustained-oriented fight. Then even Death might be able to pull out ahead. Battery is legitimately the name of the game here. How effective he can keep himself alive. And if Zuna has the opportunity to flank and get on top of him, you can absolutely be sure that he'll do so. Also, I'm going to be keeping eyes on Zuna here on the Arthas specifically. I feel like we haven't gotten to see him play that in quite some time, ever since he was flexing between B-Kid and the first role swap that the members of Lag Force had.
You are correct.
And so he's a dude who I know will have the mentality of wanting to flank the Morales, and I just want to see how effectively he'll do so here on that front liner.
Thought it was pretty cool that Lag Force, just in case Even in Death was wanting to go into the double support, made sure that they picked up their Lucio before that final pick Malthael. It was a little bit of a deny, but also just making sure that they had the double support that they wanted. They had already gotten the Uther earlier. It's a good draft from Lag Force.
Pressure out in the mid, it being won by Even in Death here. I didn't expect them to be kind of at least...
Lily's a beast.
Oh, you're not wrong. Lily used to be...
And not just because she's a panda.
Yeah, no, she's just one of the best laners in the entire game. Just being able to throw the dragon on top of anybody, the auto attack damage mixed with the blinds and just her healing, so low cost. We got ourselves another pause here. Not quite sure the reasoning behind it, but we will be getting back to the action as soon as possible.
Let's talk about builds. That is a lot of stacks on Batteries clear already. 8 out of the, 15 to get the first bonus from that, and then the 30 after it. But getting 15 and having the cooldown reduction, that's a really big deal when you go into a grenade build. Anything else? We've got a Wolf Heart, so potentially we're going to see Greymane more.
That is actually really interesting considering the map. That's like about last place that you would ever see a non-flask build. Just for anybody who doesn't know, with Greymane, there's 2 traditional builds to kind of break down. You have either, you can go more Worgen, typically it's like kind of Wiz and Duelist, but you don't have to commit in that direction. But if you go Wolfheart, you're going more Worgen teamfight oriented, whereas if you go Flask, you're going for that AoE poke. And on Infernal Shrines, because the Skeletal Defenders are such an easy sustained area to be able to throw out the Flask, get yourself the stacks, get the poke, it's almost 100% of the time you see that build on this map. It's even so much so that originally Wolfheart was the go-to. It got nerfed, and then the only time you saw Cocktail build was Infernal Shrine. So the fact that we see Even in Death venturing away, that is why it stands out as kind of like a, hey, maybe their team fight thought process is going to be different. What if that's a Wizen Duelist Stim Droned Greymane dive in all over the backlines rather than, the traditional Vala? I
would say make sure you've got your Divine Shield and your Sound Barrier in place to keep Vala alive.
Yeah, because that Greymane with a Stim Drone and Wizen Duelist stacks actually sounds about the scariest thing I've ever heard. If you thought Adrenal Overload was a big problem, my goodness, Stim Drone.
Stim Drone Greymane, yes, but a double Dragon Lily hitting B-Kid or Zuna when they flank, yikes. There goes Lutano after Big E, but Tomster's there to keep Big E safe. We've got this first shrine going on, Batteries, and a lot of members of the red side, which is not where he belongs, and he'll go down as the first blood.
Good cut out there from iDream is going to allow him to stay alive. No rebuttal kill over from Even in Death. And that was just, again, the members of Black Force here with the Lucio and the Arthas. It just, if Battery can keep himself alive, they might have an opportunity in this game. But if even just one Howling Blast, one Frozen Tempest tick, iDream is allowed to walk up on top of him. And keep in mind, they have the mobility of Tomster there on the Lucio. It is just absolutely necessary that Even in Death peel for Battery, or Battery just not even be visible until he is there in the middle of the team fight where he needs to be.
The first Punisher secured of this game 2 between Lag Force and Even in Death. Lag Force with a current 1-0 in this best of 5 as the Arcane Punisher prepares to pounce on top of Even in Death. It's Homicidal there. He receives the Safeguard. A lot of fast damage to this thanks to Lutano going into Vorgan form. So that'll be dealt with so quickly that only one tower went down to Lag Force. That's nice, ideal for Even in Death, that type of structural damage. But even still, Even in Death falls behind a level. And this is a trend for Even in Death in the early game. They often fall behind a level in the early game, and it's the teams who give them the opportunity for those mid and late game fights. Even in Death will take those, and they are capable team fighters, and that is traditionally how they're able to get back in the game, is through those, and that is maybe why we even see more of the Worgen focus for Greymane over the shrine clearing option of the cocktail build.
And I feel like exactly that same kind of thought process if we look towards what happened in game 1 when we were looking when Lag Force got a pretty substantial lead, and then they had about 4 different ways that they could play over the next couple of minutes.
Yep.
And that they did end up going with the slower route with that, taking the extending the game but debatably the safer direction. And that is those opportunities that we talk about teams giving them that maybe some won't. Battery is now again the focus here. The peel was attempted but not enough. He is very easy work here for the members of Lag Force. And it's just very grim that this has already been at least 2 kills on the Morales specifically this early on. It's very scary for Even in Death.
Well, what will help with that at some point?
ETC has the opportunity.
More healing,
yeah. Post 13, he can get the double knockback too if he needs. Hitting more than one target can, you know, WW within a short duration of time. Lili, as things goes on, gets a bit better. Entomb is an opportunity to be able to buy a bit of peel from Leoric, but I don't think that there's anything that goes so outstanding that I go, this is when they catch up, right? It's going to still require Battery to adjust his play.
Extended Care is a great talent for Morales because it gives you that 40% range on Healing Beam, but that's not until 16, and that is a long way to wait when we've already had those 2 kills on Morales to start. Maybe it is that we see something like the medevac dropship this game instead of Sim Drone for Greymane, since it's not the Morales and Vala together.
Look at Zuna. He knows he wanted to flank for the Shrine, so he's already in position. I absolutely love the thought process here. This is very well done. Now nobody has any idea he's over there. Goes through the shrub whenever he gets vision on Battery, and now they all in.
There they go.
So
Tomster
clever.
off the side. B-Kid shows up there too, but great knockback from Homicidal, trying to help Battery get away, but the body blocks so severe from Zuna, takes down Lieutenant Morales.
And that was, man, I feel like I'm in comms with Zuna right now. I actually feel like it's just because of when we used to play, like, I know how much he likes to flank on heroes that he can get away with flanking, and I oftentimes talk about Arthuses and how they struggle with left to right fighting if they don't have somebody else to initiate for them, and it's such a problem most oftentimes. But we see not even relying on the Lucio mobility, he is constantly positioning himself in a situation to where when the fight unfolds, Battery just cannot go backwards to his half of the map. And it's just, I mean, it's not like it's never been done before, but for a team like Lag Force here to show this kind of level of play and adjustment and being honestly lacking in certain areas in North America, I feel like it's something we have to highlight.
There was obviously some sort of trade that went down with V-Kid nearly losing his life and Frozen X losing his.
Again.
But that's the second time, the 1-for-1. This time Zuna goes in with Army of the Dead. Grenade pushes him off. The rest of the team were still trying to get through the small wall. So all Zuna has done is he did use his heroic ability, but does force Even in Death back long enough, creating space for Biggie and the rest of the team to take down the fort.
Very well done for the members of Lag Force here, and it's just been clean play coming out from them. Oh, nice setup here for the initiation. Power slide's available. Howling Blast.
Howling Blast is good. Homicidal's the one who's been caught by the team though. Forced back. You have the Rain of Vengeance, which takes
Punisher?
out ETC.
Almost killed Battery.
Yep.
He's the real MVP. That's the second time in 2 days. I've watched him almost 100-0 squishy.
The jump over and then the punches, man. You do not want to get punched to death by this brawler.
For anybody at home, if you want to up your Infernal Shrines game, I believe it's 15 seconds is the cooldown between leaps. If he does not leap onto a target, it does not start the reset. So, and he will never leap unless you're within vision range of the Punisher itself. I keep saying he, but honestly, do we have genders for our Punishers? I don't really think so. It is the Punisher. I'm going with that one.
There you go.
And so if you see the Punisher and it leaps out, just keep track of that 15 seconds. It can be the difference of life and death if you're one of those squishies after the secondary leap. Everybody knows the first one's a problem. It's the second one. That's the one that gets you.
Got heroics for Even and Death. Still Stim Drone for Lieutenant Morales. Jug of 1,000 Cups for Lily. So watch for that interaction with Tormented Souls. Who gets the best of those two heroic abilities, especially around the next Shrine fight. Lag Force with the continued level advantage over Even and Death, working their way toward 13, getting some mercenary camps, potentially going to siege into this mid fort and try to take it out. We see that there is Frozen X waiting toward the top to see if he can get a great March of the Black King on top of the members. Here comes Even and Death for the fight.
And Zuno's trying to get the peel off, zoning off the members, but now he seems to be the focus as he's out of position. Black Force just went straight up, and with Zuno drawing out that aggro, the fight was obviously the goal for Even and Death, but maybe not what actually went down. Now 13 talent here will be here for Lag Force, and that has got to be grim here for Even and Death, considering the next Shrine phase is 13 seconds away.
Yeah, Even and Death showed how much they wanted to fight by dropping Stim Drone, and they couldn't keep all of Lag Force there. Lag Force has that extra mobility from Lucio, and not using any of their heroic abilities for that disengage for Lag Force gives them a distinct advantage, more than they already even had with a 13 at the Shrine. Even and Death don't want to contend with that. They're going to try to catch Zuna here. Knock back.
No way he should survive this. The Mosh Pit. He didn't use Icebound Fortitude before, I don't believe. And so he's going to be going down. He actually Howling Blast. He knew he was under pressure. He Howling Blast the minion wave as an attempt to clear the wave fast enough, not realizing they were right above him. And maybe, you know, if he had not used that spell on the clear, then maybe could have gotten the dismount and survived. But that was a very good punishment from Even and Death. The minute you see the Howling Blast, you go, Zuna can actually die, and they capitalize.
Yeah, Even and Death weren't able to go to the Shrine after losing that heroic ability, so they knew they needed to make some sort of other play, and Zuna catching him, getting that kill. Now there's nobody to defend versus this push. They take down a fort. This keeps Even and Death in the game. Great decision making from them.
Great decision making, but by no means are they on even footing. They're still going to have to rid themselves of this top Punisher. Zuna's back online as well as he's looking to join the team of Lag Force. So we'll see how much they can make happen here up in the top lane. I want to see a Zuna flank, but it looks like he's going to be paying attention towards the mid lane a bit more, and the Punisher has already leaped, so they've kind of lost the initiation attempt. He's still going to make the transition. It just feels a bit too late. We'll see if Lag Force can get the fight they want.
It's a double flank. We've got B-Kid and Zuna. Zuna showed himself, but B-Kid has not. Who does he catch with a Howling Blast?
Looks like nobody. That was a situation, again, where one of the two flankers has to go real deep and the other one has to show, like, offensively, right? And because Zuna has the crowd control, Zuna, in theory, should be the one going with the mega flank like we saw Malthael.
Yeah, so that he can group a lot of people together, catch them, and then Malthael can throw out Shroud at the same time, get one of the marks that he can teleport on, and then Tormented Souls at the same time, basically. And then you have the Circles of Death. Vala comes up with some Rains of Vengeance to hold him there. And that's how you wipe a team.
Yeah, it's, you know, and if Lag Force has about the perfect composition to be able to make that happen, especially with that Rain of Vengeance follow-up, you know Vola's going to be having a good time there. But Lag Force is rounding the 16 talent here, and if Even and Death is going to change the outcome of this game, because they're down structurally so heavily at this point in time, it is very important that they try and get this pick onto Zuna. He's displayed himself as isolated. They see the rotation. They know Vola's up in the movement. Okay, so they know that now Even and Death, it's a 4 versus 4. Or 4 versus 5, excuse me.
Yeah, Even and Death would still be willing to take the fight. They need this fight. There's just about 16 for Lag Force, and they get a lot of damage done to Zuna.
They want the 16 before they're going to take the fight, but I would not be surprised if they try and initiate this even with the 16. As long as Malthael takes the transition, they can take this.
He's going to use Frozen Tempest. We haven't seen Army of the Dead pop. We have seen Army of the Dead pop just now, so Zuna has that sustainability. Frozen X goes down as Jug of 1,000 Cups comes out. Still no Malthael here, so this is getting the full healing.
But he's
and with the safeguard, Homicidal just goes right back up to full.
Look at B-Kid, just dropping a Tormented Souls, question mark?
Not yet, not yet. Sound Barrier. Tomster speeding forward, gets the boot back. This
Howling
gives
Blast.
Howling Blast with Reaper's Mark on it. Finally, Lag Force in the chase gets one. They'll take down 2 people when all is said and done. But Frozen X as Leoric will be back in. We've got a Shrine that they can rotate to with that 16 advantage.
I'm just amazed that B-Kid didn't just walk up and just, there's Tormented Souls trying to prep the team. I know he was trying to make sure everybody else was there to get the kills, and he felt like it was a bit too far out there, but that was a dream cutoff from them. And it shows LagForce here understood the situation perfectly. They waited for the 16, they hit it, they delayed Mouthdale transitions. Again, maybe about 5 seconds out on the Mouthdale, but it's just, even in death, it just seems too far behind in terms of even thought process and decision-making throughout this game. LagForce has really just been flaunting it, and I feel like the results are displaying that.
Yeah, definitely so. LagForce almost getting a 2-level lead over even in death, but really it's the 8 kills to 1 and constant structural damage. Focus on all of the lanes, only losing the 1 fort, and that was just thanks to even in death getting that 1 singular kill on Zuna and making the most of it by taking out a fort while the rest of LagForce were on top of the Shrine. We've got another Shrine fight. Even in death are willing to be here with not having 16 just because things are starting to feel dire for them in this game.
Yeah, this has got to be kind of like the last try for them here. This is the team fight where they seem to have collected themselves and say it's going to be it. Arthas on the side. You see him trying to find the flank. He goes in, throws out a Howling Blast, not going to land onto anybody. Lutano got a bit of pressure, but nobody going down. Frozen X is getting aggressive. Nope, Chuck Tessa on that one. He backs right out here.
It was really good positioning of the team to guard Battery in that choke point so that Lieutenant Morales could heal all different areas, but Battery finally was just run out of energy. And that is the other, if you can't focus on killing Morales, just run her out of energy, and the team has to disengage momentarily while she builds that back up. In this case, LagForce get another Punisher. They quickly take down the fort so that this Punisher can instead start doing work to keep structures. But even in death, they're on the cusp of getting 16, so they will have it for this defense.
This was no sidewall focus for the members of LagForce, and that's what I kind of expected with this level of dominance that they've had through this game. And that is, again, these kind of how hard you can push your advantage in forcing it here. The members of LagForce just maybe a notch lower than I feel like they could be with the situation. And now that even in death had that 16, you see them being a bit more aggressive. Can we go out? Can we get these fights? LagForce doesn't give them the opportunity, but now they have to take it pre-20. There is no world even in death can kind of be accepting the situation that they are in. The outcome of this game will be a loss if they do not turn it around, and this is the only team fight talent here that they're going to get on the same level here.
B-Kid was showing himself, but the rest of LagForce was seeing if they could trap people rotating down, playing off of that desperation of even in death to get a fight before LagForce gets to 20.
Big Howling Blast from Zuna, but maybe not the one he wanted. He gets knocked into a bad spot. B-Kid's trying to flank. Wraithwalk is already used. Benediction drops stun 1 onto Homicidal. Pressure you see onto Lutano as well. The Tormented Soul is going to be used. Jugs dropped. Sound Barrier used. Homicidal power slides out. Nades knocked back to everywhere. And when it's said and done, Frozen X Wraithwalking away. He is the only one down.
Now LagForce could turn around. The stim drone has now been done. Howling Blast, letting LagForce disengage for a little bit, heal back up, get set up in a better position. B-Kid, or Big E's been separated from the rest of the pack, but iDream is right up in front of that Uther, getting the stuns, trying to set up.
There's the mosh pit. The cleanse is used. Battery's in a tough area now as he's got a lot of pressure on top of him. LagForce hasn't used even all of their heroics yet in this fight. They are very, very confident with the situation. And they find 2 more kills. On third is Lutano's next to drop. LagForce is just looking unstoppable here. 12-1 in terms of kills.
Yeah, the kiting was amazing for LagForce in that fight, going back and forth, healing back up and grouping back up. A couple of times Biggie got separated, but the communication was obviously there for him to loop back around and join with the rest of the team and be in position. And the whole time, Divine Shield was still an option if he really needed to be bailed out from that Greymane. Rain of Vengeance, Biggie made sure that he kept one of the stacks so that he could interrupt the mosh pit if it went out. Just beautiful team fighting from LagForce in that last fight, and that nets them the first keep of the game.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, it's still amazing for me to say that the members of LagForce took a team fight with an Arthas and an Uther, and neither had to use a heroic to win a team fight. And I know they're in a double support, so yes, the sound barrier came through, but there's no world where at least one of those two should have been pressured to that level. It's just compositionally and the coordination LagForce is displaying. It just doesn't feel like, even if they even has the opportunity to now come back 17 minutes deep, they're just trying to force pre-20, and LagForce is not letting that happen here. And they have pressure up on bottom. They've got pressure here through mid with a camp and catapults. They're taking another camp to stack on mid.
Even Tomster looping around with his wall ride to make sure that Sound Barrier hit B-Kid as he was using Tormented Souls. This team, this 5-man roster, working so well together in this later stages of Phase 2. They've got a 3-level lead over Even and Death. They've just picked up 20. They're looking to get this next shrine and maybe the Punisher to end the game.
Homicidal's under a lot of pressure. He power slides out. The follow-up from B-Kid. He gets a huge Tormented Souls on 5 members. The sound barrier drops. How many are to fall? March of the Black King just in his escape route. There's the 1. There's going to be 2. How many more? 3 as Zunas keeps the slow, but he's out of mana.
Rain of Vengeance.
And how?
Still using a fast feet. It's fast feet versus Frozen Tempest, which will reign supreme as the rest of the team deals with Homicidal. Looks like it's going to be the Panda.
Yeah.
Zuna backs off.
She's ready to turn things around here. But now I Dream. Oh, okay, that's unfair. 2 versus 1. Good night. How?
It ain't over until the Panda sings. Oh, there we go.
Did she sing?
She did. It was a sad song. A lament.
Sad song sang here for Lily. And Lag Force, they're making it away to the mid lane here. They have 3 catapults. Army of the Dead's dropped. They're ready to say goodnight to game 2 and move on to a game number 3. And it doesn't look like Even in Death has the tools to be able to defend this out, as Frozen X and Lutano are the only 2 to stand.
Team fighting of Lag Force, the double support was just too much for Even and Death to contend with in game 2. Probably.
No way.
4-3-0. Big E stays alive.
I got scared for a second there.
Know.
Once I saw the follow below 10%, I was like, ooh, we might be having a bad time.
And B-Kid did not take No One Can Stop Death, so that would have been a full respawn all the way to the timer. But I loved the final curtain usage in that last fight because the final curtain was set up and everyone ran through it on their way out as Even and Death were retreating. So easy for B-Kid to teleport into somebody and get the Tormented Souls going. It's great to see Lag Force back in the fighting form that they're in.
It is actually pretty insane to be able to watch them play at this level. After the interview, hearing the perspective of Beacon and such, and then now watching them play at this level, it's just kind of just scary that they can just be like, well, now we're going to decide to be this level of intimidation and the coordination that they have overall. I don't know. It did feel like when I spoke to him, it was a bit more of like the time with iDream. A lot of it was kind of like, you know, feeling out how iDream wanted to play it out and like how that worked with the frontliners and the synergy. And I think that is kind of showing within their play too, that iDream is honestly probably a huge reason as to see this development and the synergy with the rest of the group, because he is the newest member of the squad.
And yeah, I agree. I would have loved to see it, how they could have done through playoffs, but it does go to show that every match is important throughout a phase. Even if you start to ramp up in the second part of a phase, because the standings stick through part 1, it's so important that you do your best and you're able to quickly make those adjustments if you do make adjustments. We're going to go to a commercial break. After the break, we'll see if Lag Force closes out their final series of part 2 3-0.
Then came a war I could not win. I was forced into servitude. But here, in this strange place, no one commands my power. I will conquer the Nexus. Those who oppose me shall embrace the web of death. I am a Nubarak. I ruled once before. I shall rule again.
The demon Asmodan had his ultimate victory within reach, until the opposing heroes dealt him a devastating defeat. Asmodan went back to the drawing board and rediscovered his love of the game. The Lord of Sin became the Lord of the Slam.
This is my house. Let's see if you've got game. Oh, there it is. Dude, welcome to my
The swarm is eternal.